If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco.
Hey y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco. And in this third season, I am filled with gratitude. So thank you so much for showing up and taking center stage in your life. It is not every day that you get to have raw, deep, and intimate conversations with people about their how through story. But I am so grateful because today I am going to have one of those conversations. And let me tell you something. When I first spoke with this young lady, she blew me away. And I know for certain that she is going to have the same impact on you. I am talking about none other than Chimere Williams. She is all things combating tokenism, sexism, racism, and any other ism you can think of in the workplace. And she is here, center stage with me today here on the Get My Life tour. I feel like I could go on and on because she's done incredible things, but her story as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as someone who was doing equity work in the workforce is unmatched. And I'm so glad that she's here. Shamir, thank you for saying yes, and thank you for taking center stage. Welcome to the Get My Life tour.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Chimere Williams. I am an entrepreneur. I own a diversity, equity, and inclusion firm and also a media firm. I'm a self-published author. I write fictional books, and I am a mom. I'm a mom of a 12-year-old. So that already in itself is challenging. But yeah, that's who I am. Thank you for having me. There's so many different sides of me, but that is the main focal point, I would
That
say.
is incredible. I always love learning about people and hearing about them in their own words. I was so pleased with how we hit off before recording and, just learning more about you and your passions as a storyteller, right? As a mother, as an entrepreneur, and as someone who was really championing for women in the workplace. That's not to be taken lightly. But I really want you to touch on your ability to tell stories and talk to us more about where that came from and how that really shows up in all of the work that you do and who you are as a woman.
Okay, so I started writing when I knew I was a great writer when I was in sixth grade. My mother was a poet, and so growing up in a household, I was the only girl out of three other boys, and I didn't really know how to express myself to them because they were boys, and I didn't know how to really connect with my mother either. So I started writing, and it was dark. It was real dark poetry, and I was just trying to find myself. And so it was a relief, for me, of everything that I was going through as a teen or a preteen. And then it carried on into high school, taking journalism and creative writing classes and um, just everything I witnessed and gone through. I realized I can put it into words and connect with people. So I started writing music for friends. I'm not a good songwriter, y'all, but I would just do it just to help them kind of relay their message and things like that. And then I started writing short stories. And I said, one day I'm going to write a book. And I started doing articles. I've had like a hysterectomy at a young age. And I realized I could connect with women that possibly were going through that because I had no idea what I just put my body through. And I went into a depression for a year after that, and I didn't know what happened. So I wrote an article, and it was in Sheen magazine. And I said, well, make sure you ask questions. I think we all get to the doctor and we just go, okay,
Right.
okay, because they know, right? They know what's best. But I had no idea. And so I put this article out, and it had men write to me and tell me, you don't know what you've just done for me and how I see my wife. I did see her as a baby maker. I did see her as, someone who's supposed to give me kids outside of seeing who she was. Because in the article, I spoke about, being damaged goods by no longer being able to have children, even though I had one already. And so that told me how important it is to give people a voice who may not have one. So I carried my creative writing skills into my career. I started with a small boutique firm, and we're writing like grant proposals and things like that. And there was a particular segment where we were supposed to carry out a project that helped women in transitional homes. And I was a woman who was in a transition home, right? So I went through it. I had a domestic violence issue, and I had to hide. And so that project really stood out to me because we were helping their homes feel more like a home than a shelter. And so I carried that work into what I do now, which is diversity, equity, inclusion. I help my clients formulate what they do when they're trying to create career opportunities for diverse populations. So we're reducing bias in the workplace. We're creating career opportunities through STEM for minorities and at-risk youth. And working with that just showed me again, people need an advocate for them that get it because you lived it and can help you properly express it, in a professional manner and things like that. And so it's like full circle, right? You started as this little kid who was writing to help yourself navigate your own world. And now as a professional, I'm able to do the same thing. Help other people navigate their world, help them communicate. So I have people that are at risk, and then I have people that are in a corporate world, and I'm their like mitigator. And so it's great. It's amazing.
It really is full circle. What it reminds me of is the power of owning your narrative and the power of vulnerability, right? Rarely do we experience people, especially who are in your space, right, doing the D&I work and who are leading their own, agencies and companies, be so transparent about their journey, right? But I really feel like that's the equity work, showing up, to work in your company with your clients as who you truly are, or, as your authentic self, as some would say. I think there's something so powerful about that. What has it been like mustering up the courage to share your story so publicly while doing the work that you do?
So I still get nervous because you don't know how someone's going to perceive it. But so you're so right. That's what started me. I was in a boardroom meeting with all these well-educated men, right? They have masters and engineering and construction. And I sat there like, well, what do I have to offer? I'm sitting there questioning myself. Even though I'm there, I'm in the same room, and I'm still questioning myself, saying, well, if they come up to me, ask me about my education, did you completely finish college? No. How did you get here? Why are you here? And that's when I realized, all right, let's bring in storytelling. This is exactly why you're here. This is exactly why we need diversity of thought. Because although I did not have the same education as you, I'm still in the same room with you.
Okay, say that.
Right?
Okay.
So, it matters, right? And so I know you have this platform And you need to utilize it for other people who are like you. Experience is an amazing thing. It brought me to where I'm at. And it also helps me communicate on both sides of the spectrum and say, you know, this is what we need. This is what we're missing. This is what we're lacking in these neighborhoods. Here's how you can help get it there. Right. And I just started expressing myself and telling my truth. And it was relatable. I had women coming up to me saying, you know what, you're right. I work in a career field was male dominated, and I was treated like the secretary. You know, go get my coffee. Where I wasn't invited to lunch with them. And that's what makes a difference. You know, you have to be inclusive, so people feel comfortable, and then they feel comfortable, and they feel like their capabilities are higher. Oh, I can do this now, you know. And I was stopping myself from growing by not feeling capable because of the education that the people around me had.
Okay, wait. I have to stop you really quickly because our own value systems about ourselves and what we believe that we are capable of or have the capacity to do often get in our ways. That confidence piece is so real. Like, I've had conversations with women about confidence being a currency, right? Some of us don't realize how much we are lacking in that department, right? And how insufficient we are, um, as it relates to the idea of being confident, right? And as confidence being a currency. You have to elaborate on that more, Shamir, because someone really needs to hear that as we are really, pushing our way through 2021 and this new decade, right? It's not just a new year, it's a new decade. So our mindsets about ourselves have to change.
So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you do need that confidence to be who you want to be, but you also need the support from others that are in higher places, because it helps your confidence. And what I mean by that is, so I go into a room and I'm nervous, and then I realize, all right, you're in this room. So what are you nervous about? Take it, it's yours. But the support around me to say, I want you here, helps me to keep believing in myself. That's why I say it's a double-edged sword. So I got myself there by telling myself, this is who you are. This is what you're capable of. And then I got stuck because I got nervous. But I was able to communicate that. And that's where that transparency comes in and really matters. And I communicate, look, these are my adversities. These are my triggers. This is why I'm nervous, because I was shunned from people who told me I wouldn't amount to something. And it's sticking in the back of my mind, and I'm trying to shake that. But I'm capable, but this is what what makes me nervous. And those people realize, oh, this is what they mean by diversity. This is what they mean by equity and inclusion. She's here. She's telling me I had a few roadblocks, so I'm struggling. She's not incapable. She needs like someone to hold her hand. And it sounds like babying, but it's not. But you need that confidence to get yourself into that position, right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to tell yourself, okay, it's a self-awareness.
Right.
You look at yourself and you say, this is what I can do. This is what I'm not able to do at this time. I won't say can't, because we can. This is what I'm not able to do at this time. And once you are honest with yourself and you accept who you are, you're able to be transparent. I used to hide all my truths, because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed with what was done to me, that people would see that and say, this is who you are. And then I recognized, no, you show them who you are. And you show them that everything you've gone through, the abuse, whether it was physical, sexual, mental, it didn't stop you. You're still here, and you're actually greater. And I accept that. And what I want people to take from that about being a vulnerable is that you have to accept whatever happened, right? You have to accept that people will judge you, whether it's good or bad.
Say that.
Right? And you just need to be honest with yourself And as soon as you are, you're able to relate and connect with people. I don't jump in a new relationship, whether it's a friendship or work relationship, and say, all right, this is what happened to me. You got to build that, right? You have to build that. But once I do, and I do tell them, hey, since I was little, I've been getting hurt. And this is what happened. And they look at me and they say, but you're standing here like life has been a breeze for you.
Okay.
Then they want to hear more, right? And then they want to hear more, and they're more supportive. And so when you're vulnerable, it's not a weakness. I tell my daughter that all the time because she's an Aquarius. Let's just start there. And she doesn't believe in showing emotion. And I said, what is wrong with that? She's like, well, you're always crying. And I said, I do. I cry about everything. I'm a Cancer. I'm very sensitive. And she says, I don't want people to think I'm weak.
Right.
And I stopped her and I said, oh, no. It takes strength.
We learned that later in life.
Yes, it takes strength to pull off those layers and tell someone what you've gone through because you're trusting them not to tell, right? You're trusting them not to judge, or you're trusting them not to use that against you. There's so much power in being vulnerable, but you have to accept what may have broke you first.
Look,
because when
I'm just agreeing, Shamir. This is me. I'm always like, forgive me for cutting you off with agreement, but I'm just like, look, okay, go ahead, girl.
No, it's okay. You and I talked, and I think that's how we connected because we both live different lives, but we both agree that our adversities got us to our place, our platform, our mountain pose. Right. Yeah. But it comes with that. There's always like two different type of people in both situations. So you can have parents that gave you everything in the world, right? And there's two people in that situation. The one person who says, well, I really don't want to work for anything more because I have everything, and they just follow that line. And then you have the person that says, I want to take what I was given and turn that into more. And you have the same thing when you have two parents that didn't give you everything, or probably even a little bit. And you can say, well, I'm like this because my parents did this to me. Or you can say, I won't be this because my parents didn't do this for me. And that's the road I took. I have a stronger connection with my mother now. I don't have a relationship with my father. I know who he is. He's in my life in a way of, I know where he's at. But what they didn't do for me made me who I am.
Yeah, that's real. I believe a lot of people have a similar experience, and I'm sure there are people who are tuned in who are like, okay, look, okay, you think I'm agreeing. They're probably, you know what I'm saying, falling out their seats or having a moment wherever they are tuned in, because it's very real. I often tell people I learned what not to be and what not to do as it relates to certain things from my parents and just people who I'd been in community with, right? And those things do strengthen us. They help us to sharpen our skill and heighten our awareness about certain things and really add to that armor that we wear, right? But one of the things that I've also had to learn as I wear my armor is not to become hard-hearted. For so long, that wall around my heart, honey, it was high, thick, wide, well constructed, durable. Like, okay, it was weatherproof, right? But then I realized at some point that nothing could penetrate me the way that I needed in order to experience transformation and healing. And, I really want to circle back to something that you mentioned because I just wrote about this, right? Coming out of hiding. So many of us hide behind our experiences. We don't value our experiences until we experience, right, that maturation process that allows us to appreciate them, right, in hindsight. Can you give us some tips, right, for coming out of hiding, whether it be just personally or professionally, that could help us as we decide to come out of hiding and really live, I don't want to say our best lives, right? But as we live true to who we are.
So I'll say someone who's, I would say, over the last 3-4 years have been coming out of hiding, right? I started with journaling, and I know that sounds really simple, but earlier this year in January, I had to look at myself and I said, why do you have the same boundaries you have now up that you had when you were going through the worst parts of your life? Life has changed. You've gotten better, you're happier, you're healthier. Why do you still have these boundaries and triggers? So what I did, I got a journal and I went to birth and I wrote down the most significant traumatic things that happened to me in my life, what they were, how they made me feel, and where I'm at now. And I connected the dots, and my issue was abandonment. Every moment that triggered my life and made me suffer in some type of way was the disrespect someone gave me to make me feel invaluable. And so I felt abandoned. And so I had this anxious attachment to hold on to people in my life, whether they should be there or not, because I do not want to feel alone. Right. And so once I looked at that, I said, you're controlling. Not controlling where I'm controlling other people. I'm trying to control my narrative so much that I'm not allowing myself to grow at all.
Ooh, wait.
Right? So I wrote it down. I looked at it. I compared it. I looked at anger, the real definition and why people are angry. And it's a sense of control. And I was still angry, and I was angry with people in my life that would do a small thing, and I would ghost them, block them, because I was like, you're violating my boundaries. You're triggering me. And I said, well, why can't you deal with it like an adult and say, this is what you did. This is how I feel, and allow that person to give you their reason. And sometimes we know, right? We know when people shouldn't be in our lives and when they're playing in our face. But sometimes we're reacting based on our triggers. And not necessarily the bad person.
Oh, Shamir, let me just say, you are speaking to my spirit right now. Those are some real questions to ask yourself. You have to be ready to ask yourself those questions. I have never thought about posing that question to myself. And I thank you for that language, for that question, for that prompt, because there's a lot of inventory that we have to take, but we often don't have the luxury of therapy, right? I think therapy is more accessible now. God can do anything, but oftentimes, depending on what environment we're in, what kind of relationships we're in, we just don't get that. So I really have to thank you from my core for sharing that with us. And I know you're not even done yet, right? Because I asked you for some ways, but I had to say thank you because that is profound.
I'll say thank you. I took that to my therapist before I went back to therapy, because I've been in therapy since I was, I think, 8th grade, just going back and forth for anger management. And what it was coming from is things that I was going through and I didn't know how to express it, right? And I took that to her, and she said to me, well, you started all the work. Like, what do you need me for? And I said, I'm just trying to have someone help me understand this, right? And what it's going through, and she says, you're doing it. You're realizing that it's not just the people around you, it's you too. And I think that's something we don't want to face. As humans, we don't want to face that we could be a part of the problem. And it's not to say what those people did to you wasn't like wrong. Yes, what they did was wrong, but you're part of the problem as well, because you haven't really touched the surface about it. It just keeps happening. You have to dig in there. Right. And I cried, like you said. I mean, oh my gosh, I was not ready to face it when I really thought about, you haven't visited that part of your life in some years. right? But after that, I came at peace with it because I was able to go through it and say, you're right. You went through all this and you were holding on to it and you were upset with people because they were triggering you in ways that they had no idea. And now you get to let that go and you really get to talk. And I wrote a letter to my mother. It was like this little, I still write handwritten letters.
Me too, girl.
They're important. They make people feel good in yourself. And so I wrote a letter to her and I said, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to let go of everything we've gone through. Because to me, that was my big a thing in life that was hindering me, because all I wanted was a great relationship with my mom. And I said, you weren't perfect. I wasn't perfect. You weren't perfect for your own reasons. Same here for me. But now that I've looked at all of this and what I've gone through, if I have a problem with you, I'm ready to talk with you through it because I want you in my life. You are important to me. And I think that's something we need to recognize. Like, okay, what's important to you? What you want to do to navigate through this. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you have to try to do it as successfully as you can, right? You know, as positive and healthily as you can. That way, when you make a decision to move away from something in life, there are no regrets. And I think the regrets is something that we feel that, oh, should I have done this? Should I have ended this? Should I have worked harder at my marriage? Right? And so when you really go through all those things and write it down, you're able to see the connecting dots, our habits, our bad habits, our good habits, and things like that. And I would say that you got to self-analyze yourself. Take some time, go away, learn to date yourself.
Say that, okay?
I tell my friends all the time, I'll be out, they're like, oh, you must be on a date, because, they'll see me on social media. Oh, no, I'm out.
Okay, party of one.
I love to eat well, those things, but that's how you get to know yourself and you get to know what you want, what matters. Luxury to me is things that make you feel good. I love warm plush towels, right? I love candles in my home. I love champagne. Everyone knows it. I'll always have champagne on me. And those are little things that make me happy. The rights for the big picture. And so find those things, find those little things that make you happy, right? Is it a really nice pen? Right? Do you like having great textured paper? Those little things we always focus on. Well, when I turn 30, I'm going to have a house. When I turn 35, I'm going to have a husband. What about the little things in between that?
Yes.
That make you happy, to appreciate those big things.
Right. We have to learn how to count it all joy. I love that you're highlighting like those small wins, but you're really giving me like this warm and fuzzy vibe as well, because so many of us have these big pictures, like period, just big pictures about any and everything. And we become defeated because we're not hitting these benchmarks as regularly or, as frequently as we think we should be, according to our standards. But there's so many things that we can learn to appreciate and be grateful for in the meantime.
Right. I think it's because we don't, we're taught to think big. And so it's not a bad thing that we're focusing on the big picture, but there's so many little things we do in between that are great, that should be celebrated. Again, with the champagne, my friends laugh. It can be anything. And I will say, oh, time to open a bottle. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, I got my workout done 3 minutes quicker than I usually do. And they're like, uh-huh. And I was like, celebrate it. Celebrate those things because it makes you feel good. Right. And that goodness is what brings out the happiness, So I just try to, I have a girlfriend who writes me sometimes and she asks me, well, how did you get there? How did you get to that place? And I seriously told her those little things. I'm not kidding. The towel, skincare, right? I love my skin. So it's just like my skincare regimen at night, and I wake up and I have that dewy glow and I smile because I'm like, yay, and just being consistent with my skincare routine, like certain things like that are so important to our wholeness. And I think those are the things that help us complete those big pictures. So when we do get the house or whatever it is, you're celebrating it all together. But in order to get there, we have to set little stones. It's like when you do your task list and you have 10 things on your task list, and you notice you're only getting 3 things done a day. So why not make your list 3 things? That way you're saying, I'm completing these 3 things every day, and it makes you feel better than feeling defeated by only getting 3 out of 10 items done. We have to trick our minds, right? It's like trick your minds into thinking positive and greatness about yourself and feeling good. Because if you feel defeated every day because you're setting these tasks that are, not reachable, then of course you're going to be unhappy.
Right. We have to be honest with ourselves.
Right.
Right. That is such a big part of, my journey, being honest with myself. I'm not someone who is dishonest, but being honest with myself helps me to be realistic. Right. I feel like they go hand in hand. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to get X, Y, and Z and LMNOP. And I'm like, really, Lydia? Like, relax, right? I often have to tell myself to relax, but I'm so glad that you shared that insight with us. That's extremely helpful. I feel like I can see, touch, and feel what you said, as well as apply to really experience transformation. So thank you.
Thank you. Just to touch base on what you just said when you said, Lydia, really, of the last, I think I may have told you this when we spoke, over the last 3 years, I've overcome a lot. So 3 years ago, I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. None of my friends knew. I would say some very, very close ones, but really no one knew. I was on social media every day. No one ever, going on like life was okay. I went through a really significant challenge. And now I look back at it as that refresher, like, stop saying, well, you still have this to do. You have this to do. You were in a relationship where someone was poisoning you with medication. In order to leave that relationship, you did what? You loved yourself enough because you recognized what was happening, and you sacrificed the finances for your own well-being. So I left. I became homeless. I slept. From there, I got a hotel room with my daughter. I paid it up so I could be there. And then I went into a garage apartment. And then I got a 2-bedroom apartment. And then I moved up. I left Texas, came here to Illinois, started making 6 figures. And I still look at myself as, you got this to do. You have this to do. Do you own a home? And I stop and I say, wait, 3 years ago, you were what? You were in your car. Celebrate. And I didn't celebrate enough at the time. I didn't celebrate the fact that I chose me and my health and my daughter's future to leave the worst relationship I ever been in.
Shamir, that is so powerful. The love that you have for yourself, the faith that you have, and the love that you have for your daughter. I have to acknowledge that, right? Because oftentimes we don't value ourselves enough to save ourselves, right? We rely on other people, or we just think these are the cards that we're dealt, and let me just struggle through this. But you made a decision to live. You made a decision to set yourself free. You made a decision to love yourself unconditionally. And that is not to be glanced over. And I'm so glad that you're sharing that. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your strength in telling and sharing that part of your journey with us. And I really hope that someone tuned in is moved, right? Especially if they are experiencing something similar, if they know someone, to really love themselves to life, because that's what I hear when you just shared that.
Absolutely. And, you know, I got tired of being in survival mode, right? And that's, you know, it comes back again full circle to the beginning of our conversation. That's where that confidence came from. I said, you have to trust yourself. You have to know yourself. And it's time for you to stop trying to attach yourself to other people saving you. You know, you need to do this for you. And this will be a first time, actually, many people in my life will have heard that. I recently wrote a book about that situation, but people didn't know what happened from between then and now, and a lot about what happened during it because I was isolated. So this will be a first time. So yes, being vulnerable to me, it's something I had to learn to accept because it is a part of who I am. It is what happened, but it doesn't completely define me. You know, it's a part of me. It shaped me, but you know, I'm able to create my own happiness. And so I just want people to listen, who are listening in, to recognize that, you know, we do all go through significant challenges in our lives. And we sometimes think this is it, right? Like I'm not going to make it through this. And it's okay to feel defeated. But I learned I had to love myself. I seriously had to learn myself. And so I had my daughter at 19. And I always say that she saved my life because she was someone that, you know, I had to love on, and I had to better my life in order for her to have a good life. But now at that moment when I left, I realized, well, you deserve that too. Right?
Say that.
You deserve
again.
what you're giving to your daughter. Why don't you deserve, why, you know? So that's what changed. That's what changed for me. I finally start to pour into myself and see what I deserve and love myself. My daughter knows now. I'll be like, all right, I'm out. She knows like once a month, mom's going on vacation somewhere because I have to love and do something for me. I have to take care of me. Yes, I cannot be a good mom to you if I am not happy, if I'm not pouring into myself. I can't be a good professional, a friend, a daughter, any of those things if I'm not doing those things that make me happy. And trust me, I am a giver. I'm a people pleaser. I love taking care of people. And I was giving them all my energy. And I still do it, but I make sure to take time for me. Yep, no, today we can't talk. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's real.
This is what I'm doing.
That is so real. I love that you're sharing this as well. I often hear parents, mothers especially, talk about the kids, and I do this for the kids. And if it wasn't for the kids and for my kids and everything's for, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so tired of hearing the word kids. I am not anti-children. I am like self-love all the way, and I'm not a parent. Shout outs to my dog Oatmeal. But right, I really am here for you putting yourself first. A lot of conversation has been shifting towards liberation, right? Or this reliberation of those who are parents reclaiming their time as individuals who are dope, who have their own lives, and who need to take care of themselves first, right? There are a ton of women, and I know some of them are parents, and they're always like, "Oh, I'm so glad this person who was a parent said that." But you saying that a vacation once a month, I hope people are getting their coins together even during this pandemic, because that is the me time I'm talking about. Okay.
And they're small, right? They're small. And that's what people got to realize, those small getaways. It's not, I do go on bigger trips, but it's like, okay, so if I live in Texas and I'm in Houston, I said, well, guess what? I'm going to Austin this weekend, just for some personal time. So just to give some insight on that, it's not always about going somewhere big. If you have a friend's home that's empty for the weekend, can you go over there for 2 days? Like stuff just for yourself,
Right.
to reconnect with who you are. And so that's what I do. I mean, I'll get a hotel room in the city in Chicago just to get out of my house, so I'm not doing dishes. Because if I look over and see the dishes, that's what I'm going to focus on and do, right? So I take myself out of that. I go to a hotel room and I sit for a few days and I don't do anything. I mean, I'm working or I may write or something like that, but I'm not caring for anyone else besides me. And my daughter knows. She's like, all right, when is the nanny coming this week? Because she knows I'm leaving.
I love it.
But then I come back. I come back
Mm.
refreshed. And, of course, I come back with something for her so that she loves it even more. But
Like, please leave once a month.
but I do those. Yeah, right. She's like, I know I'm getting a souvenir.
Look, that's life, and you're sharing freely, right? But I'm sure that took time to prioritize or reprioritize yourself. Shamir, you are so dynamic. You're welcome, right? I just had to
Thank
insert that
you.
because I'm just like, we have had a very diverse conversation about your work, who you are, how you help others. You've given us some parenting gems. You've, helped us come out of hiding. Like, you are really dynamic. And I can't help but to think that's because you are living on purpose and in your purpose, right? You can't fake what you've been saying. Hopefully not, okay? Lord knows I'm a credible journalist, right? But you can't fake this. Like, this is who you are.
Yeah. This is what I mean about allowing whatever you've gone through to shape you. I have so many different sides of me. And I nurture all those sides because I recognize, hey, you don't need to shun that part. You don't need to be this person better than this, part. And that's about allowing what I've gone through to mold me into who I am, acknowledge it, and now I'm nurturing it. And all the sides, whether it's parenting, whatever it is, I give my all to her. I make sure she's on her way. She's an amazing kid, very intelligent, and but I'm able to do that because I'm taking care of me.
Yeah, I appreciate
And
that.
I think that's important.
That's another gem right there. Nurture all of your sides.
For sure,
Ooh,
right?
that's it.
For
So
sure.
many of us think that we have to be one-sided in order to become experts of our experiences or to be positioned as a thought leader or whatever. People are like, "Oh, Lydia, you're so professional," or "You're so this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm real, hey girl, hey," or "I'm real trap music 1 minute," or "I want to pray
Right.
with you," and all these things, and they're not inauthentic or inconsistent at all. But to be able to nurture all of who you are with great intention and be able to be who you are authentically and show up as that's unmatched.
You're
Thank
amazing.
you.
You're gonna make me hug
Hug
myself.
yourself.
You make me feel
Girl,
good.
hug yourself. I will hug.
You
I'm
make
hugging
me feel
myself right
good.
now. How about that?
Right.
Okay.
Same,
Look,
same, for
you
sure.
know what? You have given us so much, and I am so grateful for your gifts. I really am. And I
I'm
cannot
thankful.
wait. I absolutely cannot wait for people to share their experience with you here center stage. But it is time for you to drop the mic. Look, you can go from Obama out to sexual chocolate. Have your moment, just have your way, and leave it all here on the stage.
I just want to say thank you. And I'm Shamir. I'm Chimere Williams. I'm an author, and I would love for you all to join in on my journey as well. And on January 26th to pick up L. Yeah, that's my mic drop. I'm excited about my new project. It's a crime fiction book. Um, and it's about the story that I shared about Munchausen syndrome by proxy and gaslighting.
Well, look, there you have it. Oh my goodness. let people know how they can stay connected with you.
Okay, I'm on Instagram mostly. My IG is X_Shamir, CHIMERE_X.
Lovely. And as always, to stay connected with the Get My Life Tour, be sure to visit the getmylifetour.com. We have some new fly merchandise. Check it out. How you live your life is your business. And it is printed on a t-shirt for sale at the getmylifetour.com underneath the merch section. Of course, you can stay connected with us on social at the Get My Life Tour on all platforms with the exception of Twitter because it was too long. So it is at Get My Life Tour. And if you'd like to stay connected with me and my work journalistically or just all of my Lydia-ness, be sure to connect with me on all social platforms at Lydia T. Blanco or visit my website so that you can connect at lydiatblanco.com. Look, I am so full from this conversation. There's so much that I am taking with me and holding closely. And I hope that you will do the same. Every stop on this tour is designed with you in mind. And I really hope that in you taking center stage with Shamir, with myself, that you feel more equipped to show up in your everyday life. I cannot wait to take center stage with you again. It has been real. Shamir, thank you a ton. Until the next time on the Get My Life Tour, peace.